Hi, welcome back. This will be a quick video on Saturn conjoining your Ketu or your South Node in your birth chart. You can always figure that out by using the sidereal birth chart on AstroSeek's website, using the whole sign house systems and following the Vedic transits. Right now, Saturn, as I film this, is going to be approaching Aries in 2025 in the Western tropical zodiac, but in the Vedic, I believe it'll be entering Pisces because it's kind of a little bit delayed. They do a different calculation actually based on the constellations at the time, but regardless, whatever system you use, Saturn conjunct Ketu will be active regardless in your chart in whichever system you prefer to use. I'm just using the term Ketu. It's an Indian term to denote the south node. So I've gone into what Ketu represents in many different ways in a few of my other videos on my astrology transits playlist. So if you're curious, check that out. But I'm just going to dive in. This is basically a time that you could find a lot of past life stuff is coming up in this lifetime. You know, basically you're approaching, especially with Saturn, especially if this is a Saturn return or something like that. This is the first time you're probably coming into close contact with past life issues or memories or people and places and situations and lessons as well. This is a time when these things need to be resolved. Definitely, there needs to be more maturity or stoicism or detachment, which is what K2 rules as well. K2 also just rules instincts or spirituality in a deep, profound kind of Gnostic sense where we just innately understand things. So, this is a time when boundaries, because of our spirituality, could be important as well. Listening to the spirits that are working with us could be specifically masculine spirits. But to each their own, we each have all different sorts of genders, of course, in our spirit team. And this can also be a time when you're establishing more boundaries or structures in place to actually support spiritual practices or gifts that you have that are coming up from past lives as well, to give them some kind of conduit or real life channel. This is also a time when you could or you should actively start limiting or kind of simplifying your life and letting go of losing things that just don't serve you on your long-term path, kind of taking the lesson and keeping it pushing. This is also a time when spirit guides and ancestors could be working with you in what to actually remove from your life or in past gifts that are kind of your time to kind of come into and embrace and be a conduit or a channel for. K2 also rules research, so this could be a time when you're being guided by the spirit team to certain resources, of course, all times, but this is a time when they really need you to come into like a really solid maturity regarding these gifts as well. Whatever instincts you have or intuition, you could find that they're coming more into their height now, or there's a need to kind of, a lot of times I think it's really good that Saturn is conjoining K2 if this is happening for you, because K2 on its own could have like a lack of the right boundaries that Saturn can provide to really make something more useful. Past life progression as well could be helpful at this time. You could just have emerging memories or like, oh, I think in a past life I died in this way because I had a bunch of dreams about, like, I don't know, drowning or fires or whatever. Also, your birth chart can definitely indicate some of this as well, um, based on your past lives. This is a time when you really could be mastering spiritual gifts and talents handed over from the ancestors as well. Natural gifts that you can basically just possess or kind of just innately understand and lay claim. And I think this is more of kind of like the reward of what this transit could bring, especially if you're transcending or breaking generational curses that might have been imprisoning these kind of gifts from showing themselves. And because of your evolution and your ability to protect yourself spiritually, that could also be very important as well. Like understanding more of the psychic warfare, spiritual warfare, taking that more seriously, definitely, who you allow into your life, etc. This could also be a time, I think, when you could also delve into practices, rituals, more like literal practices for your spirituality, especially if you're looking to like protect yourself or do baneful magic or anything like that, if you get the gist of what I'm coming at. But doing it in a responsible way, of course, because K2 is not one to play around. Nobody should mess around with spirits without understanding what without having proper precautions in place and a good, strong chakra system, the spiritual team, etc. But you could find that these skills are coming up like innately now. Also, you could feel more of a masculine presence or like a fatherly presence around you. There could also be a lot of destined kind of opportunities, connections as well to kind of structure your dreams into reality, or something that was like even before you were born, this was almost like divinely destined to happen for you. So these could be bosses, coworkers, relationships, pets, depending, of course, on the house of where your K2 is in and what planet or what kind of sign it's in as well. But I think this is a time when your gifts or your spirituality can really be really strongly accessed, especially if you have like a grounded practice for it. There's some kind of channel or some kind of method to communicate with that. Also, establishing boundaries so that you have, like, this is giving the vibe of like when you only allow certain, you only work with certain ancestors or certain frequencies, and you have protection and guides in place to help you with that. I feel like every single intuitive person, also all people on earth are intuitive, so everybody should have and understand the kind of practices. If you're in a low state, you're going to attract frequencies and spirits that are looking to siphon from you, and people as well. But if you're in a higher vibration, if you have protection, if you know how to work with protective spirits and things like that, elementals or whatever, this can also be a point when father figures enter or leave your life, like destined, like spiritually guided father figure type vibes. Or this could be when they're leaving as well, of course, or this could be them just supporting you from behind the scenes as well, or in the spiritual team, in the spiritual realm. Mantras, spiritual exercises could also be important, bringing structure to our manifestations, our frequency, our protection. This is a time when we should actually be actively letting go of things ourselves, like simplifying our life, making sure that nothing's getting in the way of what's truly important, the truth of our life and why we reincarnated. Stoicism or more belief systems or spiritual systems that kind of see the reality of situations could be relevant too. Understanding time as a larger concept. Also, building more self discipline with spirituality or because of spirituality. Another example that I thought of was Tyler Henry, who's a medium, and he talks about his method of scribbling, and that kind of gets him in the mindset. And then, he knows how to, and different mediums have different ways of doing it. Like another one talked about, like, she sees different colors or whatever, and she won't interact with certain souls that are different frequencies. We don't always want to lower our vibe, right? So something about that could be relevant, having those measures in place when you do interact with anything spiritually will be very important as well. But cleansing, purifying processes, purging, anything like that spiritually could be really important to be a focus as a daily part of your practice or a weekly part. Using your instincts to help you be more discerning as well. Another quote was failures are just practice shots. So I'm not saying you're going to fail at all during this time. I'm just saying that's a good way of seeing things, especially if these are past life repetitive patterns that maybe we need to supersede to gain more access to other new levels. And as you do this kind of purging, you might find through the void, actually, of getting rid of what you no longer need, you attract success more easily because your chakras, your energy is a lot more free flowing at this time. So the more that you purge, the healthier, the more alive it is, and the better kind of things you can attract just naturally. And these will be things that come to you more so than maybe you going to them. Not saying to be lazy either, definitely, but there's like a natural, like, meet me halfway. Detachment could also be really important, just like that kind of mindset in general, how you interact. But grounding exercises could be definitely relevant. Anything with like spiritually grounding exercises, like breathing exercises, imagining the roots from the base of your feet into the soil, exhaling black gray energy out, inhaling golden white light energy in, doing breathing exercises to kind of become a stable channel will be important. So I hope you enjoyed this short little video on Saturn conjunct K2 as a transit. I just feel like this is mostly, especially, check out your own Saturn or K2 and how they're aspected and what other planets are aspecting them or conjoining them. But I think this is a time when a lot of past life instincts can come to the forefront. And I think if you lean into it in a positive way, you can actually utilize this in a really effective way in allowing your spiritual connection to maybe take precedent, as well as with Saturn, maturity regarding that as well. Like combining those two forces could be really beneficial long term. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for being here. Please hit like, subscribe. You can leave a tip through the Buy Me a Coffee link if you so choose. But regardless, thank you. Take care.